Continuing our IRCE interview here with Rob from Classy Llama. Classy Llama is one of my favorite Magento partner agencies, other than my own, of course. They're on the list. So when I became a Magento partner, I asked Art Boyd, who was over it at the time, I said, what partner should we pattern ourselves after? Like if there's one partner that is just doing it absolutely right and we need to pattern ourselves after, they named a couple and Classy Llama was one of those. So think very highly of them. They do a great job. We're going to pattern ourselves after them. We're going to continue to grow and we're going to try to put them out of business. But love the guys. They have the best swag at conferences. The Llama really plays. I'm sitting here watching people just walk by and hounding them. They'll stand in line to get a Llama. So they definitely are doing things right. So being a Magento partner is a big deal. I mean, there are not a ton of those out there. You guys are Magento 2 trained. So they're what level of partner are you now?
We're a Magento Enterprise partner.
Magento Enterprise partner. Okay. So what's the Classy Llama difference? I mean, there's like I said, it's not a huge selection of partners out there, but there's quite a few of them. What makes Classy Llama different?
The thing I believe that really sets us apart is that our goal is to operate in the merchant's best interest and create success for the merchant's business. So, for a long time, our business has been development. We've had marketing services capabilities, and we've been good at executing on things. But where we've tried to grow, where we've taken our business, is really about not just building stuff and building stuff well, but actually making sure that the things we're building are enabling success for the merchant. We want to understand what are their goals, where are they trying to go, how do we measure that, and then tie everything that we're doing back to those goals, right? Have a very clear sense for if you're trying to go in this direction, this thing we're building is going to feed into this strategy. This other thing, this marketing campaign is going to feed into this strategy, and then how are we making sure, taking measurements over time, that those things are successfully delivering what the merchant is hoping to get out of it. So it's about that delivery, but really tying that together, in a cohesive way.
So you'd say the difference is really around the strategy and making sure that all of your decisions and your results are backed up by data.
Yeah, backed up by data, and more than that, pivoting from sort of a cohesive plan, right? We don't want to be in the business of just selling services to people and making money. We want to be in the business of really stewarding a client's investment, right? So the consultation and strategy helps us make sure we're doing that, and sometimes that may resolve to development engagement. Sometimes it might not resolve to a development engagement. If what we're doing is creating the most success for the client, then that's what matters.
So if I'm a merchant, or if I'm advising a merchant and I'm looking for someone to help me with my e-commerce initiative, how do I know that Classy Llama is the right fit? What does that ideal client look like?
Yeah, so for us, an ideal client looks like somebody who first of all has a clear sense for what makes their business work, what differentiates them in the space. If your business is not well positioned to be successful in terms of its fundamental mechanics, right? If there's not something that clearly sets you apart in the market, we're going to have a hard time helping you be successful by extension, right? So we're looking for somebody with a clear competitive advantage. We're looking for somebody who understands what their differentiation is. We're looking for somebody who is willing and able to invest, because understanding why your business is set apart is one thing, but if you can't fund your own growth, that limits our ability to work with you. And then finally, we're looking for people who have, the way we like to put it, is a culture of trust and empowerment, where they, rather than looking to control everything themselves, they're looking to bring in people, they're looking to gain additional insight, and they're willing to put that trust in when we come forward and say, hey, from what we see looking at the larger e-commerce ecosystem, this is what you should be doing. We're looking for somebody who says, I have faith in that recommendation, let's do that, who's willing to lean on our expertise, right? That person who sort of is trying to control every little bit of things, who wants to define every last thing that they want done, or that is just looking to us for, I just want you to come in and code something and go away, right? That's not an account where we feel certain we can create lasting success, and so that's probably less likely to be the kind of merchant we want to work with.
So let's get serious for a minute, right? We're at IRCE. It's early June, I think. I don't know what day of the week it is, much less what month. There was some swirl, I guess I'll say, on Twitter this past week, or it may have been Monday, right? That where Magento is extending the deadline for Magento 1 support.
It would seem to be the case. Yeah.
Now we have a lot of clients that this is going to benefit because they launched late with their Magento 1 sites. And so they really, with most of those companies, they were expecting to get 3 year shelf life out of it.
Yep.
That's kind of how their accounting is set up around it. That's how they sold it to the higher ups in their business. And so starting the project prior to the deadline was going to be a big problem for them.
Yep.
So this is actually good news. It's good news for them. However, as an agency that's really been it's really the sales process has been you got to move, and I know we want to do what's best for the customer.
Yep.
And I'm glad that they extended this deadline so that our customers have a little more time to breathe, figure that out, justify the cost of the M2 migration. But how does that kind of play out at Classy Llama? How is that either helping you or your clients or hampering what you're doing?
There's a couple different perspectives on that. So I fundamentally agree that, especially for a certain sort of set of merchant cases, there's a lot of value in Magento extending that timeline, especially if they were relatively late in the cycle getting that M1 site built. They're looking to generate a return on that investment. There's value in that. And so from that sense, I think what Magento's doing is in support of helping merchants get value out of their investments. The challenge for us is that, like it or not, we've been in this position for the last year and a half of saying, hey, by November of 2018, you're going to need to be off Magento 1. You're going to be in a situation where you have significant security risk. You're going to be in a situation where bugs are not getting fixed. So you need to be looking at making this transition. That's no longer true. Now, in some sense, again, operating from merchant success, the fact that those handcuffs are off is helpful. But as an agency, right, my strategy to a certain extent was sort of built around, I'm going to see a lot of demand for upgrades because there's that pressure to get it done before the deadline. Now that pressure is gone in terms of the market, and that leaves us having to figure out, all right, what do we do strategically now in light of that? We're probably going to see less demand for M2 upgrades because there's less pressure. Not necessarily a bad thing. I just need to fill that in with other work. And so from my standpoint, it's largely in the camp of, if Magento was going to do this, I would have liked to have known sooner. I would have liked to have known that a year ago and have planned accordingly.
Well, one of the concerns we had at Jamerson around the M2 deadline is that there are a lot of Magento sites out there,
Yep.
Enterprise and Community Edition. So my concern was the absolute rush, especially early next year,
Yes.
to make those migrations was going to lead to a lot of poor quality builds, a lot of migrations that kind of go off the tracks. You only, as an actual Magento partner, there's only so many projects you can take on and do right and do well. So I'm a little relieved at the extension in that I think it helps Magento's image, especially next year, where you don't end up with a lot of people working with maybe less reputable, less credible agencies, or their best friend's third cousin that knows how to build websites or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were absolutely looking at that as we expect by January next year, there's going to be this massive surge of people going, oh my gosh, I got to be done by November, and trying to get off. And so hopefully what I hope this does is it moderates that effect. I hope it does. I hope people don't look at this and go, oh, I'm just going to stick with Magento 1 now. You should be thinking about what is my evolution in the future, but you have a little more time. Where that becomes a bit of a challenge for us is that, at some level, our thought was we want to be broadening the services we can offer to better serve that merchant success. This year, I can use that foundation of M2 upgrade revenue to fund some of this service expansion. Now maybe that's less true than it was. So it's not, again, in service of the merchant, not necessarily a bad thing, just poses some interesting challenges for our strategic direction.
I think that's one of those kind of side effects that's going to be a bonus of pushing and having everybody hammer the deadline and then backing off, in that a lot of people that if that deadline was originally set further out would have held off longer. Now they went to Imagine, they've been investigating Magento 2, they're at least taking those steps to move down that path.
Yep.
And it may not happen as soon as it would have if the deadline had stayed, but it gets a lot of people with momentum in that direction.
It does, but there's also, for example, as a balance to that, I have clients who have turned off some degree of their feature enhancement development support agreement to say, I want to save my dollars to do that upgrade. So they've turned that down. Well, now what? Right? I mean, that's essentially, that business has gone down for me. I hope that's going to come back. Those relationships are good, but they've turned it down in anticipation of an upgrade that now is at least 18 months farther away. You know, that's all good. That strategy made sense. In the meantime, that's work I don't have as an agency. So it's a tricky balance, right? You always want to do the right thing for the customer. We also have to make sure that what we're doing with our business makes sense. That being said, I'm glad that Magento's doing this now and not a year from now, right? I'm glad that we do have 18 months notice on this. We have a lot of conversations that we've been having that are in that territory of, well, I need to upgrade and here's the timeline, but they're not sort of set on that approach yet. So there's still time for us to come back and say, you know what? Let's reevaluate a bit from, should you be doing the upgrade right now, or maybe let's pivot to do a couple of M1 enhancements and then upgrade. And there's efficiency there. If I'm on M1, it's probably quicker to build some features than do a whole new M2 build. When you were looking at maybe 12 months of time to get return on those features, it probably wasn't worth it. Now that we're talking about you might have a couple of years to get value out of those features, might make more sense. So it's, you just get creative.
Makes sense. And I think one of the things I like about Magento is, although I'm sure this could have been probably handled better from the beginning, Magento is one of those organizations that takes feedback.
Yes.
And they say, you know what, maybe we weren't right about this. Maybe we need to make some changes. And I understand there's ramifications and there are things that affects, but they're at least able to take that feedback and make a tough decision and say, you know what,
absolutely.
I think maybe we need to change this.
And I've seen people talk about what this means for the overlapping timelines of 1 versus 2.0 and how does that all play out. But to Magento's credit, I think they've recognized that the 2.0 rollout has taken some time, has taken some effort, and that 1 to 2 transition is a significant thing. And I'm with you. The fact that they're trying to account for that's to their credit. It's easy to sort of sit there and say we've made the decision and that's done. So that willingness to consider that maybe that's creating undue pain for some people and account for that, there's value in that, for sure.
If someone wants to know more about Classy Llama and they want to get in touch, how do they reach out?
Of course, the easiest way is go to classylllama.com, right? We've got information there about our services. Our phone numbers are there if you want to give us a call and talk to somebody. You can also hit up a few of us on Twitter, if you prefer to reach out that way. So I'm on it at Rob Toll. So,
Well, I appreciate you being on the video cast.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's
yes,
good
sir.
talking with you.
Thank you.